Hello, Jem Ayres here, sex coach and sexological bodyworker, and I'm here talking about my next book club, which is a mixed gendered book club. My women's book club has been going for 3 years now. It's super popular, and I keep hearing cries from the men, when can we get involved? So it's called the Sex Positive Book Club at the moment. I might rename it, we're not sure, but I'm not stuck on that. But anyway, I want to let you know, because it's going to be starting in January, and it's going to be a 12-week space for all genders to come together. And the work is how we build a community where we feel safe enough to work with different language around sexuality, explore the topics that the book brings. And the book's only really the starting point. And of course, I set embodiment practices and optional homework. But what we're trying to do is to create a space where we can, lift any sense of shame or guilt we have around sex, learn from each other about bodies and pleasure, and also notice that, our pleasure is really important to prioritise. So, someone in the Women's Book Club said that it keeps pleasure on the agenda every week. So it's a really powerful space. And if you can't make it every week, just drop in when you can, because the book is just the starting point. So we're working on, drum roll, Mind the Gap, Dr. Karen Gurney, The Truth About Desire and How to Future-Proof Your Sex Life. I posted this online, and another somatic sex educator for teens and adults commented on how this is like her go-to book, and she had loads of tags sticking out of it. It's really quite profound and transformational. And, right, let me read you some books. Let me read you some bits from the book. Okay. Understanding what makes sex good for us. And it says here, part of knowing yourself sexually and getting the most out of your sexual experience is understanding what I call your conditions for good sex. And we go deeper into the conditions for good sex in this book. So you can think of these conditions as an interrelated triangle, of which there are 3 points that are all crucial to your sexual experience. So we'll be covering psychological arousal, that's one of the points, physical touch, and how present you are. And she goes deeper into it in this book, and it's not at all dry, it's super readable. I'll read you another piece here, right? So the 3 times a week myth. One of my absolute favourite societal myths about sex and desire is that we should be having sex 3 times a week. I love this, as mainly, A, it's so pervasive, is what couples usually tell me they want their sex life to be. B, it's really far from how often we know couples are actually having sex, as you learned in chapter 2, it says. And C, it bears no relation to sexual satisfaction, desire, or pleasure. The idea of frequency as a marker tells us nothing about our actual experience of sex. So let's start busting that myth, please. Excellent. Next up, I've just marked some bits, and I've already lost them because of the bookmarks falling out. What do we mean by good sex? That's a good question. So it's got loads of practices in here, loads of solo practices, some stuff that we can take to partners, but it's basically noticing what the patterns are around desire, what the science is behind arousal, and then, why sex might drop off in long-term relating, and so how we can keep it going. What do we mean by a good sex life? Sometimes when people talk about a good sex life, they use it as a synonym. I mean frequency. Evaluating a sex life on the basis of frequency is one of the greatest red herrings we have at our disposal as a society when it comes to good sex. Frequency tells us nothing about connection, pleasure, variety, intimacy, adventure, passion, expression, or novelty. It tells us that sex is happening, yes, but as we've learned so far, if sex is happening frequently, but the sex that is happening is lacking in emotional or physical reward, it's usually not only not good sex, but it's potentially lowering our desire and sexual satisfaction slowly but surely over time. Beautiful. And then it goes on to explain the definition of good sex. So, good sex for you might mean having less sex than you do now, but feeling connected sexually in other ways, using sexual currency, which she talks about in this book, and having the confidence to know this is something that you don't need to worry about. Sex once a year can be just the ticket if it's the kind of sex that meets both your needs and make you feel alive. Lovely. Changing up the sexual script in your relationship. Lovely. Okay, beautiful. So it looks at all the different perspectives on how we can have a more empowered sex life. And, I'm a professional sex coach, so I'm going to be there guiding you through it, guiding the discussion, facilitating embodiment practices, and helping us really embed the learning, because it's not about the reading. It's about actually how we integrate the information. And part of that is sharing. Part of the shame busting is being in community with this discussion. And it's going to be a beautiful space. And so it's an online space. It's on Tuesdays. Tuesdays just got sexier, it seems. And it starts on January the 16th. January the 16th, 12 consecutive weeks, Tuesday evenings. Check somewhere around this link. There'll be a link to my website, and then you can find all the full details. Ciao, ciao. Look forward to seeing you there, kittens.